Well, you know by now that Obama's done his executive orders, and we've got sheriffs that we've talked to who are standing on the Constitution, by the Constitution. We've got Sheriff Mack with a constitutional sheriff's organization. They're going to protect and defend the Constitution, as are the Oath Keepers that Stuart Rhodes has. But the question is, what, if anything, can we do to go on the offensive legally and peacefully? So we have somebody here today, David Zuniga, author and founder of America Again. Welcome, David.
Thanks, David. Good to be here.
Tell us a little bit about what you've got in mind, you know, about going on the offensive.
We'll do that. This is it. 220 years ago, we got this weapon, and the U.S. Constitution is and always has been the most powerful offensive weapon we've had in our arsenal. This is worth 200 million AR-15s, really. So this is our weapon, and I'll show you how we're going to use this.
And you've got a little bit different take on the way to defend the Second Amendment, too, from the Constitution as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Let's talk about the Second Amendment situation that's going on here. Before talking about a solution, we have to look at how are the American people handling these constant attacks on us from the government. How are we handling it? Do we know who we are? Do we know what this document says? We, the people, are over this document. We created this document, so we're over it. It does not control us. It controls and limits the government that we created in this document, okay? So that, and I know you know this, but the people need to understand this is very powerful. We have never enforced it, not once.
Right, and the Bill of Rights was set up to, they were concerned, if you look at the preamble to the Bill of Rights, they were concerned that people didn't realize that the Constitution was something that was constraining the central government and gave it limits, and so they came up with an additional 10 amendments to clarify individual rights as well as some rights that were retained by the states.
So I want to go into some stories that you've done, that InfoWars has been doing, and the way the American people have been looking at this gun grab, this latest gun grab, because it's a perfect way to show how we don't grasp what we have here, okay? So let's, you know, and let me just say, the people are the top sovereigns over government in America. There's nothing higher. We are over the Constitution. The Constitution is over our governments, federal, state, county, city. Okay? So we're the most powerful, we are the most powerful force in America. Okay, so that's number one. And we have to understand that if the government is doing something illegal, it's our fault. We have not enforced this document. Okay, so if you look at the latest gun grab, you remember you did a deal, a piece sometime back on Cass Sunstein, saying, and this is a ridiculous
we've got it up there now.
Point, but Sunstein, one of Obama's czars, was saying that after Heller, the U.S. Supreme Court ruling in Heller, D.C. versus Heller, 2008, he said, well, this is the first time that the people have been given the right to keep and bear arms. With Heller in 2008. Now, let's see how asinine that is. Okay, number one, the right to keep and bear arms is granted by God. The Constitution only reiterates that grant by God for humans to defend themselves. So Sunstein was wrong on that count. Now, he might have been right on this, and here's how I would have twisted, here's how I would have nuanced what he said. The District of Columbia is a 10 by 10 mile empire. Go to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of the Constitution. It says Congress has the exclusive jurisdiction and rule over that District of Columbia. It's not like the states. So the people that live in D.C. don't have the rights that you and I have in the 50 states. So maybe Cass Sunstein, he might have been right. Heller brought to the people of the District of Columbia, possibly, the first right to keep and bear arms. Maybe so. I don't know what Congress was running before that. I know they're running prostitution, theft, every other racket right now in that 10-mile square. Okay, so that's one thing. When Sunstein came up with that, everybody went crazy. I don't think it was so crazy, and I'm not worried about that. The second thing is you ran. Well, here let's look at something else. I'm going to show the Internal Revenue Code. This is the code in single volume. In Section 7608 of the Internal Revenue Code, item A1 says that the enforcement of Subtitle E and other laws pertaining to liquor, tobacco, and firearms. In that case, Subtitle E, the IRS agent can carry firearms. Only in that case. Now let's break down what this means. It means that in every other case of IRS enforcement, when you see these IRS SWAT teams out there with guns, they're committing federal firearms violations. Why isn't the gun lobby saying anything about this? They are committing federal Look, only Subtitle E, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. When they break into these offices or these homes, IRS agents armed, these are felonies. Okay, so
well, it's not even that. It's the Department of Education has shotguns, and that was questioned back in the summer of 2010. And the Washington Post said, "Why are they putting out an RFP for shotguns and bulletproof vests?" And then a year later, they had a SWAT team raid of a family, drugged them out in the middle of the night, handcuffed them on the front lawn because the mother, who was no longer with the family, had delinquent loans.
She had a delinquent school loan or something.
Yeah, delinquent education.
It's crazy.
Loan,
But these are violations of the highest law by the federal government. We need to enforce it. We're not enforcing it. So now, why does the IRS have a Subtitle E dealing with firearms? Think about this now. That is an infringement. That right there is illegal. There should be no alcohol, tobacco, and firearms.
Right.
Subtitle E. So anyway, this is just one of the things that we've put up with this for 20, 30, 40 years. Why do we allow this? It's an infringement on our right. So I've never heard any gun groups talking about this. You know, why don't we start going after this?
They're probably concerned about audits. get their tax exempt.
Well, now I'm going to go one step deeper with you here. Do you remember when Obama talked about, I think it was 2010, you ran an article that Obama said that AK-47s are not for the people. They're for the military.
Oh, and we hear that all the time.
All the time.
McChrystal is going on CNN talking about particular rifle and bullets and going into detail about the muzzle velocity of it and saying citizens don't need that. And you hear, you don't need that to hunt deer and that sort of thing. Right, exactly.
David, you remember some time back you ran an article, InfoWars ran an article on Obama saying that AK-47s had no business being in the hands of citizens.
Right.
Remember that article?
Right.
And that assault weapons were for the military.
And you hear that all the time. I've heard McChrystal making the rounds of CNN and Fox News with Hannity, pumping his book and talking about the details about how fast these bullets travel and saying, you don't need this to hunt deer and that sort of thing.
Or you don't need this magazine size, or you don't need any kind of weapon. We have it all wrong, including the gun lobby. We have it all wrong. Here's the deal. We're going to go into the Constitution for a minute. You know, when you say that a machine gun or a selective fire weapon or whatever is only for the military, first you have to say, what is the military? Look at the Constitution. What is the military? Let's see how it's defined. Okay? Article 1, Section 8, Clause 12. Now, Clauses 12 through 16 of Article 1, Section 8 are the only places that military is discussed in the Constitution. In Clause 12, it says Congress has the power to raise and support armies, but they may not raise money for this purpose for more than 2 years at a time. No such thing as a standing army. Full-time army is illegal. Full-time Marines is illegal. No boots on the ground except yours and mine. We are supposed to defend ourselves. Now,
and that's a key thing, too, because when you look at the Gulf War, they said, they had total air superiority. They came in, they wiped everybody out. But they said, we have to have boots on the ground. You have to have boots on the ground in order to occupy the country.
Or control a country.
Exactly. And what happens is a standing army, those boots on the ground eventually end up on your throat.
Exactly. Right? It's the wrong boots. That's right. So who is the military? We are the military, you and I, the armed militia. Let's go through the rest of this. Clause 13 says that we're giving Congress the power to provide and maintain a Navy. Now it says provide and maintain a Navy. That means full-time. Back then they wanted the only foreign borders we had, or the only attack fronts we had, were the seas. So we wanted a full-time Navy. That's fine. The Navy is kosher. Now, it says in Clause 14, to make rules that govern and regulate the land and naval forces. The Congress can make the rules of engagement, the Congress can make the training rules, etc. But they don't put up the armies. We do.
Yeah, and exactly, going back to the Navy thing, today, with modern weapons and sort of that would include an Air Force. That would include
an Air Force.
An air defense. Something that would basically
Space
isolate
defense,
us, right?
Would isolate us.
But not occupy us,
right,
like a standing army.
In other words, the Air Force, they didn't have Air Force in those days, obviously, no aircraft, but the Air Force is the same spirit of that law, to defend us with a shield. Same way with space-based weapons, I would say fine. Same thing with the Coast Guard, I would say fine. But boots on the ground, Army and Marines are illegal, according to the Constitution. Let's finish this. It says here in Clause 15, to provide for calling upon who? The militia. To do three things: to enforce the laws of the Union, to put down rebellions, and to repel invasions. Now let's look at put down rebellions. Rebellions by who? Would it be us? No, because we're called to put them down.
Right.
There's no such thing as a people's rebellion if the militia is the one supposed to put it down and we're the people. In other words, we are self-policing, self-defending, self-enforcing people, the only people on earth that can say that, by law. We are the military. So,
and we have the founders saying, can we not be trusted with weapons for our own defense? That doesn't just mean your own personal defense at the shopping center, or your family's defense at your home,
your car,
but it's weapons for our own defense.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
As a nation, as collectively.
So when we get, and the Constitution nowhere authorizes foreign invasions, nowhere. So we have these 700 military bases, and we have a 125-year history of sending great people. The military has some of the greatest Americans I know. I'm not at all besmirching or attacking military people. They're great American citizens. But there is no authorization in law for them to go traipsing around the world. There just isn't.
Right.
So when we get that straight, now we talk about who gets military weapons? The military. Who is the military? The citizen militia. All of this discussion has to start turning that way, and I'm really hoping that InfoWars is going to turn it.
Yeah, when people talk about Concord and Lexington, they weren't just coming for the muskets; they were coming for cannons. Yeah, the Minutemen owned cannons.
That's right.
They owned the state-of-the-art military equipment.
State-of-the-art military equipment.
Right. They owned weapons of mass destruction, so to speak, or whatever. But
night vision stuff, whatever we need to defend ourselves, that's what we're supposed to have. We are the military. So when the gun lobby gets this straight, when all of us that own military-grade weapons in our homes, we start understanding, internalizing, we are the military. We'll start getting this thing right. We won't worry about clip size or this or that weapon size. No. We have all of it by law.
It doesn't change. What you're saying here is absolutely right. I would say the Marines were originally part of the Navy. They were a permanent force, and they were a quick reaction force, and they were a small force.
So poor Army. We're getting down to saying,
we're down to the Army.
You great guys in the Army. You're a bunch of
keep an officers' corps, but it's the real Army is the militia.
Who's the officers' corps?
Yeah.
The states.
Right.
The states.
Exactly.
Only the states.
Yeah.
Okay. So we get that down right. So we are the military. Now, how do we fight back? How do we turn this year, 2013, how do we turn the American meta-narrative for the first time in 150 years, right here with InfoWars, the point of the spear, and turn the American meta-narrative around this year? We can do it. I wrote a book 2 years ago, This Bloodless Liberty, and I describe how we can do this. So the Declaration of Independence said that, if you recall, that whenever our government turns so tyrannical as to take away life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness, we have the right and the duty to alter or abolish it.
Yeah, and that's in the first opening paragraph. That's the part of it that they don't have you memorize in government school. They stop it abruptly right at that point.
But we don't have, here's my point, we don't have to alter it. We don't have to abolish it. We just have to enforce our law. So 200 million AR-15s right here. Are we going to use them or not? Are we going to enforce them or not? So we're flopping around, letting this government slap us around and take our land and take our money and take our kids and take everything else we have because we don't understand the power that we have. So let me first say I did an article called The Red Roots of the GOP. sometime last year. I have it up on our website. And in that article, I explain, and this is for the GOP people, I explain how the GOP started as a Marxist party. Karl Marx wrote the Communist Manifesto in 1848. He was a huge fan of Abe Lincoln. Abe Lincoln was a huge fan of Karl Marx. Most people don't know this. Karl Marx was working for the New York Tribune, and he was a famous journalist. Can you believe that? Here, not in Germany, here.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So, so Lincoln, they don't see this. If you read the article that I wrote, you'll understand. It's got links. You can go look it up. Sure enough, there they were. The GOP had followed on the heels of the Whig Party, the 1%. The Whig Party had followed on the heels of the Federalist Party, the 1%. The Federalist Party had followed on the heels of the Loyalists to King George, the 1%. So the 1% has always had this conservative party, always. It's the 1%. They control stuff. I'm sorry, guys, but that's the GOP. That's where it is. That's its lineage. That's where it comes from. So the second thing, and I unpack that in this book. The second thing that I unpack in this book is the war to enslave the states. I wrote another article recently that I have on our blog called The War to Enslave the States. And I chose an illustration that I think captures what's happened to our country. For 150 years, really, really shrewd. The 1% said, okay, how can we take America, split it in two, equal opposite forces, hating one another? North v. South. And what is it now? Donkey v. elephant.
Left versus right.
Left versus right. It's this false dichotomy. It's this false structure. I hate you, you hate me. That's what happens is we get so caught up with one another, fighting one another. Meanwhile, they're stealing all our stuff right out the back door of our house while we fight.
Right.
That's the idea. That is the second thing. The war to enslave the states is the only proper name for that war. Because what happened during that period was the states before the war, before Lincoln's era, were the creators of the Constitution. They were the creator party. They were the parties to the Constitution. We were an allegiance of states. Article 4, Section 4 says we're going to have a republic, always a republic of sovereign states, right?
And similar to if we were to have a situation if we decided that we wanted to leave the United Nations, which was a creature of sovereign states, and all of them came back and said, no, U.S., you're not leaving, and we're going to invade you with the UN Army, right?
Yeah,
That's essentially what happened.
Exactly.
You know, the sovereign states had created the United States government, and it changed it from, the United States, as it's been pointed out in documentaries, the United States is what they used to always say.
The United States are.
To the United States is. It consolidated everything, and that was what founders were concerned about, was consolidation. They talked about consolidation of power. They wanted division at multiple levels within the federal government and between the federal government and other areas. And so they're very careful to make sure they had that division. That all ended with the consolidation of the Civil War.
Our enemies were wise. Now we need to be wiser. That's all. We outnumber them 1,000,000 to 1. We have the most powerful law on earth, the longest standing written constitution on earth. So we just need to go on offense.
Tell me about the indictment engine. That's to me, that is a really unique thing that you've got is the indictment engine. But tell us a little bit about that. I got some questions that I want to ask you about.
Okay, the America again is a new organization, a membership organization that gives the American people the top power back over government. Okay, that's our goal. We are going to be the top power over Washington, D.C. The way to do that, you've got offense and defense. You've got a spear and you've got a shield. So the spear is the indictment engine. The America Again indictment engine is, well, it's the first it's the first enforcement we've ever done of the Constitution. But this is a permanent mechanism to keep doing this for the rest of American history.
Now, you're talking about indicting members of Congress, right? So that's what you're looking at.
Seizing their assets and criminally indicting them and putting them in their state penitentiary for many years. You do that to a few of them, the rest of them will get the picture pretty quickly. And the reason we do state not federal. The minute, all of these things going on with federal laws right now, when people are challenging federal laws with nullification actions, nullification was the mechanism that Jefferson liked. The state legislature nullifies what the federal government does. It's a reaction. Interposition was what Madison liked. And that was, you get in there and you move before the federal government and you stop them from doing it at all. You don't go react to it. You stop them. I like interposition. That's the America Again indictment engine. We go, when they pass a law, and they do this all the time, when they pass a law, federal law, that violates the Constitution, we can't go after a constitutional breach. That's a federal matter, so it's federal matter jurisdiction. It falls in the federal courts. They trump us every time. We'll never win.
Right. They look at it as a policy issue and their prerogative.
Sure, or they'll call it politics, or they'll do whatever, but it's federal. It falls in their courts. The federal courts work for Congress, not us. Read Article 3. Okay, so we need to keep it in our states. We need to give the 50 states and the thousands of state courts back the power that we should have. We do have. We just haven't exercised. How do we do that? What the indictment engine does is it's a set of algorithms, and I don't want to go into proprietary details. It's a set of algorithms that targets the action they just did, the violation of the Constitution, and harmonizes it with that politician's state penal code. Finds the penal code violations that look like and feel just like what he did, goes and gets him on those. Okay? Right here in Austin, Tom DeLay was convicted of 2 counts of, what was it, money laundering, I think?
Something like that,
Tom DeLay was the second highest member of the House of Representatives when he did that. This was the first time this has been done. A state court criminally indicts a member of Congress for what he did while he was in Congress. And that state court won. It convicted him. Now, we're going to do that all the time for the rest of history with every member of Congress for every breach and violation of the Constitution. How cool is that?
But now with DeLay, that was because of money laundering or campaign finance type of violations, that sort of thing. So you're saying that you can find things that harmonize with that?
Target rich. Right now, there are so many violations of state penal codes happening. If you harmonize them in this way, it's not hard to find. I mean, well, I'm sure there are. I mean, we just saw a situation where members of Congress were caught doing insider trading. And of course, their response was, oh, we'll exempt ourselves from that, Yeah, Title 32, Texas Penal Code, fraud. I mean, I'm telling you right now, we have the goods on every member of Congress. Every member of Congress. The big crime is the money crime. You cannot, gold and silver is the only lawful money of the United States according to the law. They don't care. Since 1862, they haven't cared. So, again, we have them on that one, and we will have them on that one until we have lawful money again. But there are lots of other crimes that we have them on. So the indictment engine is our offensive spear, now our shield. The shield we have is we've got 19, America Again legislative actions. We've got 19 actions, 19 laws that we want to bring back, that we want to recoup 150 years of lost liberty. I mean, all the stuff that people have been asking for, all of the things that we need, not just term limits, not just getting out of the UN, not just giving us real, lawful money back, all of the breaches of the Constitution. We're going, and we're going to, one at a time, we're going to start passing these laws. Now, how do we pass them if they've never been able to pass before? Like anchor babies or whatever. We've tried these things before, and they've never worked. When you have a spear, an indictment spear against the guy's back, and you say, look, oh, you want to talk about plea bargain? Fine. We'll work with you, Senator. Now, here's what you're going to do. Just like... Yeah, I saw on your website you were referring to the Magna Carta, for example. Right, exactly.
They got King John to sign it by showing up with... By
basically showing up with swords and saying, look, guy, you don't leave here with your head unless you sign this thing. Well, actually, he sealed it, in wax. They said, you either seal it or you die. How do you like that deal? That's what we're essentially doing. You either going to spend a lot of time in prison, lose all your assets, or you play. How do you like that? You want to obey the law now? That's the indictment engine. And so we start giving them our laws now. Congressional term limits, real lawful money. You're going to stay out of the internet. You can't touch our internet. You can't, this anchor baby thing has to stop. You're going to have to seal our borders. We just start taking back everything that we've lost.
Now, you've got a website?
Yes. AmericaAgainNow.com.
Okay.
And
people can go there, get more information. They can see these articles. They can sign up.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Great.
And I hope you will sign up. And I'd like to give a couple of personal notes to people. First, to you, to the people watching, to my friends, to my fellow Americans. You know, I know it's been hell, and since Obama was in office, and since Bush was in office, and since, you know, Clinton was in office, and the other Bush, we've had hell. But it's been our fault. We need to do something about it. It's not going to happen by itself. I'm not going to do your job for you. Only you can do it. It's time to go on offense. Join us. To Obama, I want to talk to you, man. I know you'll probably never see this, Obama. I can't call you president because you've never been my president. But don't feel bad. George Bush wasn't my president either. Clinton never was my president. You guys don't deserve the title. But you're the best thing that ever happened to us. I thank God for you. I thank God that you were elected, and I thank God that you were reelected, because you've woken us up, you've pissed us off, you've made us turn back to Christ, you've made us go back to the Constitution and say, what in God's green earth, what's happening to us? You have made us think about that. You know, your legacy, Mr. Obama, is going to be that you woke the sleeping giant. Thank you. We appreciate that. AmericaAgainNow.com.
Great. Thank you very much. Yeah, he put executive orders and dictates on the map, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, thousands and thousands. Of course, George Bush was pretty good with that, too. But he's exceeded George Bush's stuff.
I love Obama. I mean, he's just the best. And his wife, oh, man, they're just the best. Yeah. They just keep us, they keep us so angry. It's so great.
Well, thank you, David.
Thank you.
Best of luck. We hope this works out for everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for leading.
We need you to join. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that concludes our show for tonight. If you're watching this on YouTube, please consider getting a subscription at Prison Planet TV. It helps to support our operations, but it's a great resource for you and for your friends. You can have up to 10 people streaming simultaneously from the site, watching our news reports live each night instead of delayed a day. And we also have a lot of documentaries. All the documentaries that Alex Jones has done are available there at no additional charge. So please consider Prison Planet TV. Also, take a look at InfoWarsShop.com. You'll find a lot of resources there that also help to support the operation. We have new T-shirt designs, water filters, you name it. It's all there. Well, that's it for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 Central, 8 Eastern Time.
Sick of the globalist eugenicist control freaks adding poison to your water and laughing as you get sick and die? Start purifying your water with ProPure. My friends, I've done a lot of research, and the best gravity filter out there, bar none, is ProPure, and it's available discounted at Infowars.com. Its filters are silver impregnated to prevent bacterial growth. There's no priming required. It's NSF 42 certified. Optional fluoride filters can reduce fluoride up to 95%. Easy to set up and use. Doesn't require electricity. Purify water from lakes, streams, ponds, and wells. This filter system leaves in beneficial minerals, which is key. Save money by not buying bottled water and avoid BPA that leaches from the plastic. ProPure is the best gravity-fed filter out there. It's what my family uses. Infowars.com already has the lowest price on ProPure. But if you add the promo code WATER at checkout, you get an additional 10% off at Infowars.com. You can also call to order 888-253